What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 19th episode of the Envision Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Brad's Gaming, and as always, I'm joined by Clownish Joe
Hello, everyone.
and Triple Bravo.
Howdy, folks.
So, I wanted to ask you guys, as we've had two games that I could think of in the past week come out, and I don't know if we've even talked about anything since I've been super busy with the house and stuff, but what are you guys' thoughts on Far Cry 6 and Metroid Dread? You guys picking any of them up or anything?
Joe, go ahead. Give us that opinion of Dread.
I don't play modern 2D platformers.
Boom.
I've never played a Metroid game. This isn't going to be my first. If I'm going to play one, it's going to be the original.
Yeah.
The NES one?
Yeah. I've never played any of them.
I recommend definitely Super Metroid first.
Or all of them.
I think we also ought to mention that Brad is currently traveling. So if he sounds different, we're sorry.
Yeah, I'm traveling for work. I'm hoping this doesn't become a norm, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But at least I was able
finished.
to bring a decent mic. Anyways, go on, Joe.
I've heard very good things about Metroid Dread and seen some screenshots that had it in like the not 2D perspective, and the game looks really pretty. To the point where like I kind of looked at it and I was like, do I break my own rule and be disappointed? But I haven't pulled that trigger yet. Far Cry 6, in the words of Brad, I'll wait a month until it's on sale for $20.
Probably the best quote I've ever had.
Interesting. So if I'm going to play a 2D, 2.5D platformer, I'm going to play Fist, Forged in Shadow Legend. Straight up. I'm not that big of a Metroid fan, so I'm just going to go play the indie game that I have interest in, that I haven't picked up yet. And Far Cry 6, exact same as you guys. I'm going to wait until it's on sale. You guys are going to pick it up. I'm going to get a little bit of FOMO, and I'm going to get it too. And that's what's going to happen.
I feel like that's what's going to end up happening for us is
one of us is going to get it, and then pew, pew, the other two go flying off.
Yep, because I was just telling Joe Bravo, why did I waste my money on that stupid Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl?
First off, not stupid at all. You take it back.
I played it for literally 15 minutes, and we've never touched it again.
Because you haven't been around since, Brad. I've played it solo. Bravo's played it solo.
I play it every day.
Well, Bravo's a diehard. I played it solo one time, I think, without you guys, and I was like,
"Me too," but it was still solo. Okay.
This does feel a little more like a party game.
It's for sure. It's a game that we wanted to play as a community.
Yeah.
So
we gotta do it again soon.
Yeah, we ought to do it.
We'll set up some dates and we'll just have it as a weekly thing.
So I've got my capture card installed. I ordered HDMI cables finally today. And whenever I do, I'll have the Switch set up finally in my office instead of the living room. So I plan on playing my Switch games in between other games, or like whenever I'm waiting for Joe or Brad or whatever. Like I'm just gonna play it, and also have the ability to stream it to the Discord or whatever, capture it for blah blah blah. But yeah, I play it every day. Usually, whenever I'm bored with work, I'll just like jump in a game and beat somebody up with Cat Dog or something. It's not like I played a ton.
I don't believe you. We know every day when you're taking a poop ski, that's when you're playing it.
I have tried that and it did not go well.
I have to focus too much.
On the game or the
I can't be playing video games at the same time.
I'm afraid I'm gonna get confused and wipe with the Switch. Like which hand's dominant? I can't remember.
Depends on how intense the poop ski is. Sometimes you gotta get fully naked.
Like there's some physics behind it where if you're in the bathroom with your Switch, there's some amount of the particles that are getting
Stop it.
on, in, and around the Switch. Okay.
Okay. So in regards to the
Wow.
capture card, I also picked up a capture card over the past week and gonna be recording some oldies here soon. And that's the end of that conversation.
I
that'll,
was waiting.
that'll
I was
be
like,
cool.
wow.
Like, what oldies do you have queued up? Like, continue the thought.
Nope. I
Richard
just wanted to,
Simmons,
Just
I
some
just wanted
oldies.
I'm thinking like Elvis and Beach Boys.
Yeah, you know.
Oh
Whatever.
God.
I just wanted to get off of Bravo's poop talk, but no, I plan on playing. So I want to play through the original Silent Hill and go through all that series because outside of the first one, I have never played them. Um, on top of that, I do have Banjo Kazooie, Banjo and Tooie. I want to go through, as well as the Turok games on the N64.
No.
Yes.
I want to
No.
put myself through that torture. I want to do it.
I was in the same position as Joe like 2 years ago. I had the N64. I was all excited. I'm like, ooh, Turok games. These are gonna be real fun.
They're
Pop
brutal.
the, pop the first one, and I was like, I couldn't even get through the first level. It was so bad.
Also, Duke Nukem's pretty high up there on my list to get through as well. Never beat them, but I played countless hours of them.
The PS1 games I actually want to play through. They're like the third person whatever action
Yeah.
games kind of. I don't know. They seem like they would probably age a tiny bit better than the one analog stick first person shooter games.
Well, you're wrong and stupid.
A little bit.
Speaking of aging, I cannot wait to talk about the game that I chose for this week's episode.
Speaking of this week's episode,
Speaking of this,
yeah, but actually, I think Bravo had a question for us though that he already forgot about.
no, I would like to know, since I believe the game or the mode dropped today, is your thoughts on the new Hearthstone Mercenaries.
yes. So I worked from home today and definitely did not play during my shift, but played before and after, not during. If anybody from there is listening, and have played quite a bit of it. The mode is really interesting. It takes inspiration from Slay the Spire and like combines it with Hearthstone in a way. And it's pretty cool how you like gather up your mercenary team, and it has a rock paper scissors mechanic based on who beats who and has advantage on who. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It my biggest complaint with it is I don't know World of Warcraft lore, and there's some like bonuses that are like, oh, all alliance members get plus these stats, and I'm just like, all I know is orcs aren't an alliance. Like you can tell me anybody else, and I have no idea what they are. Humans sound like they're probably alliance. I don't know. There might be bad humans. We're pretty messed up race.
He's pretty much the exact same as me. I only know that the orcs are the horde and humans are alliance. I don't know anything else.
But yeah, that's probably my biggest complaint. Game mode is really fun. I've played a good bit of hours of it so far, and I'm definitely gonna play some more. I'm not paying anymore, but yeah, it's
Do you
worth
have to pay
checking out.
for it?
No,
Hmm.
No, it's a free to play mode.
Does it have any like
has-
pay to win kind of mechanics where you can like upgrade your dudes
Yep.
for money?
kind of.
I think it is pretty pay to win, honestly. I don't know 100%, but so in the packs, you could have pre-ordered. I pre-ordered the one Diablo one just because I thought that Diablo was a pre-order exclusive. I didn't realize that you could just open him naturally and unlock him or whatever. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And it's not a big deal to me. But they do have like a welcome bundle, which honestly, I think it's worth it. You know, if you play it for free, it's $5 and you get like 10 packs and a random legendary minion. So it's not a bad deal for something that you can have a couple hours of fun. And the only thing though is when you open the packs, you get these coins, and the coins upgrade your like your abilities that you choose, which seems to be the kind of like Pokemon Unite, where you put the money in and you can upgrade an item or
Faster
something.
than everyone
Yeah,
else.
Yeah.
But you
I
do
was gonna
get
say
them just
that.
from grinding.
Yeah, so it's like it's pay to get to the end
Accelerate.
faster,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
over time the pay to win aspect is degraded but not gone.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So one of the things that really I'm not sure about, which is only going to come in time, is does the single player content fall off completely? At some point, there is a PvP aspect to it, and which neither of us have tried, but I don't know how PvP would work, and I don't even know if it's worth playing it or anything.
Yeah, it's
Doesn't make
something
much
we won't
sense.
know until we try.
Is
Yeah.
it locked, or is it just something you haven't gotten into yet?
It's air quote
Semi-locked.
locked.
It's locked
It's
behind like 100 gold, which you can get from like sneezing in the game, basically. It's really simple.
You have to pay 100 gold per match.
no, just to
just to
unlock
unlock the
the
mode.
arena per
Oh,
se.
weird. Okay.
But Brad, do you have any more on that expansion you'd like to talk about?
I mean, you pretty much covered the real basics of, I guess, the mechanics of it. I'm loving it, and I can't wait to kind of delve into it a little bit more. But like I said, I'm just afraid that in about like 2 days, it's gonna be one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, that was fun, and now that my guys are like level 30, and there's nothing really else to do, it's just waiting for Blizzard to release more content for it, which will be in 6 months to a year probably.
Yeah, I can see that. But I came up with a question after everyone else is asking all these questions here for us. Back for Blood, the creators of the Left 4 Dead series new game, released these past few days. Have you guys taken a look at that at all, or had any interest in picking that up?
Yeah, I took a look at it the day it came out, and it had 72 reviews, and I'm like, I'll probably wait. And then about 3 hours later, it had several thousand reviews, and then I would look it up again, but my Steam is broken. But yeah, it's got very positive reviews currently, and I thought that it had some strange issues during beta, like connectivity or some stuff, but I couldn't remember. But I'm completely willing to play it. The Left 4 Dead type stuff is right up my alley, especially with friends. Wink,
I
wink.
was a huge fan of Left 4 Dead 1 on the 360. I played it so much that my disc wouldn't read anymore because I left my 360 on for so long. And then I was a really dumb teenager in high school, and I read online that to fix it, they said to throw your disc in the freezer. So I did that, and it actually worked. It like cooled down the disc or something because I think it was from the 360 being so hot or something weird. I don't know what it was, but anyways, I put countless hours into it, like 2,000 plus. Got
Holy
every
moly.
achievement in the game, everything.
All right, so Brad's a low key god at these kind of games.
I used to.
I don't know how, because you can't hit the routes
Yeah,
out of a
did you
barn
just-
when it comes to first-person shooters.
Do you just
It's 'cause it
melee all the
doesn't need-
time, or?
No, you didn't. You didn't need to aim. That's the nice thing. No aiming necessary. And I learned a lot of like back then there were like some speedrun strats that you can kind of go through some stuff, and I just was trying to be the achievement hunter guy back then. I think I told Joe that. So that game was kind of like one of the starts of it, and Left 4 Dead 2 I played a lot of, but less than 1. And I honestly would love to play it, but just kind of on the fence of picking it up for $60 right now. That's all.
Definitely
Yeah.
one that I want to dabble in if we have a group to dabble with. No interest in playing it solo.
Yeah.
It's more of like I would buy it right now if I didn't have to probably buy a dresser tomorrow. So it's one of those things like,
yeah.
I just bought a couch and a table. all this stuff, and it was like over $4,000.
Well, maybe
Now,
if you just eat
dresser.
on the floor, you
I
wouldn't have needed a table.
Yeah, we already got a table. I don't know why we get another table. Well, it is a real nice table, but
I
yeah,
thought maybe it's a different house I'm thinking about, but I thought this house came fully furnished.
no, there was a house that we were looking at that was fully furnished, but it did come with a table and chairs in the sunroom,
Nice.
but
And a refrigerator that didn't work.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're not gonna
And
get into it.
a laundry set that's
And
hookups were
the
covered.
yeah, the hookups that were buried in a wall, that guy had to unbury, and they capped all the pipes
And the
everything.
shower that
Yeah.
made the basement rain.
Yep.
He's got the look of like PTSD on his face, folks. It's glorious.
I think we gotta end this episode now.
Let's get into the main thing. Brad, kick us off.
I'm never gonna financially recover from this.
I'm not. I look at the bill and I'm just like, oh, dear Lord. So what we decided to do today is, because we mainly wanted to talk about Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill franchise and the Resident Evil franchise for the horror month, we couldn't really figure out 2 other franchises to go along with it. So we did our 1 episode of the recap, and then this one is going to be just us picking 3 random horror games that either we wanted to play or whatever it was. So each of us just decided to choose something, played it for the past week or so, and are just going to give our impressions, review, whatever you want to call it. And does anybody want to jump in first?
Bravo.
I'll do it of my own accord and not influenced by other people.
So is our horror expert of the group. So
I am the horror expert. Check out last week's episode if you'd like to know why. So I chose Dead Space. I have always been interested in the game, and really liked the movie, which is Dead Space Downfall. Yeah, it's an animated movie. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's pretty darn good.
Is there a second one too? I think there's another one called Aftermath as well. Could be mistaken.
Yes, it's a prequel to Dead Space 2
Okay.
and a sequel to Dead Space Downfall.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember if I've seen both of them, but that for some reason just came into my mind.
So
Go on.
Video. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it really it's really, really good. But so having the knowledge of the movie, I don't want to say ruined the game for me, but I kind of knew the gist of everything, like of course the monsters and whatnot, but also like the overarching story. But diving deep into the game, I really, really like it. It honestly really holds up for a 2008 game. It still holds up today, and it has some boons in that aspect because it's a dark space shuttle station, so you don't have a whole lot of other things other than just like riveted sheet metal, so that's easy to like last through the years. And it's a dark game, so you don't get to see the low quality textures, except for in a couple instances where it was pretty bright and you could see a difference, but it still looked really good. The UI is phenomenal. I love the UI. The way that the everything on the character, for one, is, it means something. Like your health bar is the LED strip on your back, or not LED, but just like the strip on your spine. Your user interface on your right arm is like your player menu that Isaac actually looks at. Like if you scroll to the top left of your menu, he'll look there. Scroll to the bottom right, he'll look there. That's really cool. And it's like a subtle detail. You pick up VODs of different things, like people's personal journals or whatever, and you can like rotate around it. I was just blown away, especially being that it's a 2008 game. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Getting to the story aspect of it, I feel like they kind of throw you into it pretty quick. Okay, with my vast knowledge of horror, that I have. It seems like they could have pulled like an Alien type thing where they don't show the creature until like an hour into the movie or like a couple hours into the game. Instead, within the first, I don't know, 5 minutes, maybe less, it shows you a big bad guy, and you're like, oh, here you go. It's a creative choice, but go ahead.
How did you feel about that? Did you feel like that messed with the pacing from what you noticed for like a horror standpoint, or um did it feel kind of good to like jump in and you're like, ooh, all right, I'm already fighting and the guys are coming at me,
So the things like that don't. I don't know. I don't know if I have an opinion about that. Canonically, things making sense are what matter to me. So this station is completely overran with monsters. If you were to crash land onto a station with Nurgle type zombies that are just like hungry for blood or whatever, you're obviously going to get attacked right off the bat. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So you can't really complain about that. But it's just a story choice. And leading into that, I feel like this is not really a horror type game. It's more like a thriller. Get rid of the jump scares that, like, oh, there's a body sometimes with an overhead light shining on it. You're like, this is gonna jump at me, isn't it? And you walk up there and you give it a stomp or you shoot it and it jumps at you. And you're like, okay, well, that's not obvious. It's a jump scare, sure, but it's like a thriller type story. It's still really good. Don't get me wrong. The setting, the lighting, the even strangely enough, Isaac, I think, unless it's like supposed to be in his head, I'm pretty sure his breathing changes through the game.
It does.
Okay, cool. I couldn't really tell because like sometimes you hear like whispers of whatever going on around him. I'm like, maybe this is supposed to be like ghostly breathing. I don't know, but it was really really cool. I haven't finished the game. I I plan to play through the whole doggone series. It's on the EA Access, which I pay for the Game Pass stuff, so I get it for free, which was really cool because I was literally hovering the purchase button on Steam, and I was like, wait a second. And then Joe told me that it was on the Game Pass, and I was like, I saved myself $60.
Dead Space for me is one of my favorite horror games of all time. Um, so actually, going along with the Back for Blood when we were talking about that Left 4 Dead, when I picked up my 360 in 2008, it was like that Christmas, I believe, or maybe it was 2007. Not 100% sure. Whenever it came out, um, that Christmas basically, I got the Left 4 Dead, Dead Space, and BioShock all together. And those three, I don't know if it's just because it was like Christmas time and I played those games a ton and they sat with me so well, or they just are that good of games, but all of them are some of my favorite games of all time. And Dead Space, similarly, I was only one achievement away from doing it, and it was beating it on the hardest difficulty. Is the only one I didn't do, which it was because you have to unlock it after being it in hard mode. You get a harder mode, and the game is phenomenal. I'm super pumped for the remake, make whatever it is.
Resurrected, I'm pretty sure. I'm kidding. It's a remake. Yeah, I also really like Isaac's suit and Isaac's personality. Like he's not like a soldier. He's not a charismatic individual. He's just a dude. I think he's like an electrical or a mechanical engineer or maybe IT. I don't know, but he's just a dude.
He's a mechanic. I think he's a mechanical engineer for the ship.
Yeah, I mean, your first main weapon is literally a plasma cutter.
Yeah, which is freaking hilarious because the station is a mining operation, I think, for asteroids, and all the weapons you pick up, I'm assuming, are just mining equipment, but it's future tech mining equipment, so it's like a laser cutter, a plasma cutter, or something that shoots saw blades. I don't know, but it's really cool. Uh, the weapons, I only have 2 weapons so far, and they're really neat. I like how the sights aren't, I want to say, like ergonomical for killing things, because it's not supposed to be for killing things. So that, they could have easily just given it like regular aiming sights, and made it easier on the player. But instead, it's like, no, this is for cutting metal or shaping things. So have fun shooting the limbs off this creature that's flailing in front of you. Speaking of flailing, I had to tweak with some settings because it runs strangely on PC sometimes, which I had to look up a YouTube video. But basically, the game is tied to the FPS, and since PCs are tuned better, perform better these days, like you can get some really strange things where like doors and creatures and lighting and stuff mess up. I didn't get it too bad, but I got one where like a dude was like floating in the air, and I was like, is this part of the horror? uh, and then I had something else. You guys,
did you play with mouse and keyboard, or did you use controller?
I have a mouse and keyboard.
I heard that the game actually, well, this was from Steam, and when I last looked at it, I heard that it also controls a little rough, mouse and keyboard wise.
I will agree with that.
And that's because it was pretty much built from the ground up for a controller, and they kind of, like most things, just threw a PC port together. Just like, here you go, PC port.
I couldn't get the aiming to tweak properly, where no matter how sensitive or how loose the controls were, I always felt like I was moving more than the character was. Like I move like across my whole pad to get him to aim at a thing. Like it's
spinning in circles playing the game.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I've played Dead Space as well. I played the first 2, never the third one because I heard it was bad and didn't want to taint the series to myself. The one thing that surprises me, Bravo, is you don't consider it particular horror. You said more of a thriller. And I find that interesting because it's like very stereotypical of a survival horror game. But I think pretty much across the board, most of us would agree, like the other big ones, Resident Evil and Silent Hill, aren't scary. They're just more like atmospheric with it being survival horror. And I just thought that was an interesting take of how you took it as someone who's not as familiar.
Yeah, I don't know. It whenever I think horror, I think like I need to go turn on the lights in my room because I'm scared. Because I guess, thinking about it now, I guess it would be like the setting or the environment has caused me to think in such a way that that I'm scared of some ghost grabbing me in the dark. But this is just like, it's almost just enjoyable to play and see the next thing that happens. I'm not necessarily scared. I'm not necessarily freaked out. It's probably because I like those kind of movies. Like I've seen Dead Space movie, stuff like that, like Aliens and whatnot. It's all very, very similar cliche now, maybe not back in 2008, but it's been done before in my eyes because I'm not in 2008. So I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely just like a enjoyable kind of a carnival ride to play through. I'm definitely enjoying it, and it fits the horror category because spooky Nurgle zombies in a space station with dark lighting. I don't know. What do you think, Brad? You're quiet. You're thinking. You got your thinking cap on.
I'm trying to think of, I guess, how to, because based on how you're describing horror, then there are almost zero horror games because there's not
is the only one that comes to mind.
There's not many that really are like, oh my god, I got to turn the lights on. It's so spooky. Whatever. It's more of, like you said, the atmosphere, the monster designs, maybe just zombies in general. Stuff that fits the typical horror, catalog or whatever that you'd get from a movie. Like, think of like um Day of the Dead, or whatever like zombie movie you could think of, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you like Resident Evil, like Joe was saying, it's not scary at all. I mean, because it's old. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the original Resident Evil, it's not very scary. Yeah.
I'm curious, Bravo. You've played a little bit of the first Resident Evil reboot. Would you say Dead Space is more or less horror than Resident Evil so far? I know you haven't got very far into it, but just comparing the amounts you have played.
Hmm. Hmm. I would probably put Dead Space as more of a horror, because in the 3 hours that I've played Dead Space, I don't know if it's 3 hours, maybe more or less, but I've ran into a whole lot more big bads. So, just in my mind, I'm like, well, I fought like 2 zombies in Resident Evil, and one was obvious. The other, well, most of them were obvious actually. I don't know. Hmm. I think the setting is better for Dead Space, if I'm gonna be honest. The Resident Evil just kind of like throws you in it and like, hey, here's some zombie dogs that chase you into a mansion, and then you split apart, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But in Dead Space,
It's probably because it's maybe a little more, maybe it's like more generic. Like you're in a mansion with some zombies, and
yeah,
Generic now because
yeah, because it made
yeah,
it.
it's also like going back to the canonical thing where things like have to make sense for me to enjoy them. If the three of us were walking through the woods and we saw like zombie dogs with part of their bodies missing and their face falling off or whatever, the last thing I would want to do is split apart from you guys and go search a brand new like mansion uh, for whatever reason. I'd be like, Joe, I'm sticking on you. We're
Brad, we don't care what you do, but me and Bro are a couple.
Could be Barry.
I'm actually really excited to see Bravo get through more of the Resident Evil as somebody who has no knowledge of the series, no knowledge of any of the characters, nothing. It's the bit he played was actually really fun watching him experience it for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sadly busy, but I don't know. Maybe this weekend, maybe you can get a little tiny bit in for us. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe a little bit. Pretty, please.
Yeah, I'll beg.
Yeah, that's all I
Um,
got. I think the next weeks I can I can come back and maybe give a little bitty update before the next subject topic that we talk about on my Dead Space and Resident Evil. Obviously, I'm
I
trying to
think,
have Resident Evil done by the final week of this month, but
I think one thing to give Dead Space a little boost though is the monsters themselves. I think it was like a really clever idea what they did, and they actually did a lot of research. They like basically brought in like dead bodies and cadavers and whatnot, and studied like
What a plasma cutter would
decomposition and
do
stuff.
if you cut a leg off.
whoa.
I don't know I don't know all the details or whatever, but because the necromorphs, which are the bad guys in it, they're basically morphed humans from one of the creatures that turns them into necromorphs. Basically, at one point you see them basically transform a body into one. It's pretty. I think it's a really cool take on a scary creature that honestly I think it's probably the best new scary creature I've seen in a long time. Because like zombies are generic, they're dead people, and it's cool that you shoot their head off and they still come at you. There's nothing.
Yeah,
It doesn't do anything.
we should watch Dead Space Downfall together. You have a little watch night, because one thing I've been trying to look for but maybe it's just because like the mechanics of the of of gaming wasn't there in 2008, but in the movie, if you like shotgun blast or like saw one of those things partially in half, there's a point where a guy gets like almost chopped in half, and or a zombie almost gets chopped in half, and the split become like it morphs and becomes like these teeth, like almost like its own mouth, like it's unkillable, and it like mutates right in front of your eyes. Or like you chop off a hand that's a blade, and the shorter arm just like morphs down to a smaller blade. Like it's just like a constant killing machine, and you don't really see that in the game.
So there is, and it's later in the game, there is like an unkillable creature
Stop spoiling for him.
at one point.
God, Brad, don't spoil the
Jesus.
2008 video game for me.
I don't care. Joe came over here. We had a game. It was like 3 months old. I'm like, I'm not gonna spoil it. Joe's like, I don't care. I'm spoiling it right now. Talking about a game that's over 10 years old. So
But Bravo is in the middle of playing it, and you're just telling him, like, oh, this is going to happen.
he watched a movie and he's like, there's this thing that happens in it. It's like, there is an unkillable thing. That's it.
Oh, well.
All I'm
Brad,
saying.
tell us about your game of the week.
Yeah,
I'm not telling you. Joe,
I'm gonna ruin
what
it
do
for
you got here?
What do we got?
Okay. So I wanted to play a horror game that I have not experienced in the slightest, and scrolling through Steam, just trying to decide something to pick on, I stumbled across Visage, which I learned is the French word for face, I believe. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I read.
He made that up. All of it up. It's not even a game, actually.
Visage
But,
or visage?
Yes.
It's a regional thing, I guess.
Yes.
A visage.
But this game stood out to me because I watched the trailer of it and I went, wow, this game looks a little bit like PT. And the more I watched and the more I was like, this is, the spirit child of PT. And so I picked it up and started playing it. And Brad watched a tiny bit of it when I first started. I streamed a bit of it, and they definitely nail the like mood for the game and like the dark, long hallways in the home, and set that unease in you nice and early. I've I thought this game was a lot shorter than it is. It turns out that there's now 4 chapters of this game, which is like over 15 hours worth of gameplay, and it's like a $25 game, so I was not expecting that. Gameplay wise, we'll come back to. I actually only got through 1 chapter. I may not even be completely done with the chapter from my knowledge, but I also learned I went out of order, and I started with the Dolores chapter. And Dolores is, I don't know if it's like a grandmother or like the mother of the family, but she's an older lady, and you are basically looking for her child or grandchild, and you gotta, go through the home, and the home like changes as you go through it. And so you like go up into the attic and you drop down into like the master bedroom, and there's like a crib for like a small toddler, like large baby, a big baby. No,
Small
just like,
toddler or large baby?
yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yep, sure
Like
do.
in between. And it's there's a lot of nods to Silent Hill. There's one ladder you go up, and like everything becomes like that foggy, you know, cliche Silent Hill look. And like you actually get out of the house going through one way, and it has pretty much the same thing. And like if you try walking down the road to like just leave the house, the smoke gets like heavier and heavier, and you end up just like walking back into where you started by this playground. And then the game is phenomenal for horror. Um, Brad, I'm actually glad you didn't watch through a lot of it with me, because I would love you to get your hands on this game because it's right up your alley as well. Some of the complaints I have with the gameplay itself, I'm not a fan of like having to click and hold and like drag open a door. Like I'm physically opening a door. I'd rather just hit the button. There's also like items throughout the house. Like you could pick up almost everything, like little cups on the ground you could pick up and look through. And I'm the type of guy that looks for everything because I don't want to miss the key and have to search through the home again. So whenever there's a shelf that has 50 cups on it, I'm up here shaking every cup upside down to make sure nothing falls out.
Sounds like it'd be a
It-
great game for VR.
It would. It would be phenomenal. So whenever it comes to some of the scares, it does really good, and it has like a sanity meter similar to Phasmophobia in a way. So like the more insane you are from being in the dark or unlit rooms, and the more like paranormal things you witness, the faster your insanity goes down. Faster your or lower your insanity, the more paranormal and whatnot happens. And then that's where you end up meeting Dolores and get shanked in the gut a couple times or thrown in the oven. Yes, she puts you in the oven.
It sounds actually a lot like Amnesia. So Amnesia has same thing
Yeah.
where you
Yeah.
can get a drag pull open the door, could
Yeah.
turn over every
It's
cup and
basically the love child of Amnesia and PT.
mhm.
And that's basically what I've witnessed. But one of the coolest scenes I've seen in a video game, you actually go through this one. I don't remember if it's like a mirror you break and go through, or it's a doorway. But it's like a spiraling hall. Like if you were to take a straight hallway and grab it on both ends and just twist opposite directions, and like you're walking down it and like spinning, and it's just really cool of a scene, and gives you like that weird like something's obviously not right with this house feeling, or something's not right with your character's head, haven't discovered what the actual story is. But the scares of the game definitely are like, it'd be something just like a flickering light, or like you'll be walking with a lighter out and you'll set candles on like the pedestals, and like you'll just be walking and you'll just hear them get blown out, and you're just like, oh no, I'm not gonna turn around because I know she's gonna be right there. And then you turn around and like you see her flash in the end of the hallway, and you're just like, okay, like this is how it's gonna be. And then it's all dark, and then there's areas which all of a sudden your lighter won't light conveniently, which is something that put me off a little because it just seems a little too forced to me. But there was also like times where you're going through the home and like there's just a guy standing at the end of the hallway, and every time like you look and like you actually look at him for a second, he'll just like start walking, and you're like, oh, I got to go follow this guy. This nothing's gonna pop out and scare me. But the game does a really good job of not focusing so much on jump scares as it does like the just a general feeling of unease, which as a PT fan and somebody who really wished that would have became a thing, it feels really good to get your hands on, something that's quite frankly and very openly inspired by PT.
I'm
So
actually interested in this game. I watched the trailer, and I really like the creative world design of games. So like Alice in Wonderland type stuff. The I don't know what you call like the infinity stairway rooms and the twisting hallways and the Willy Wonka weird stuff. That kind of stuff's really cool. So to see that kind of, whether it be psychological or actual alterations to the world around the character, that's really really cool. I'd play it almost for just that.
yeah, so I saw probably not even kidding 10 minutes of the game from Joe, and it definitely has great atmosphere. From what I'm hearing from Joe, like that tension that you get in some of these games is what really that honestly is the scariest thing of a horror game to me. It's not anything else. Um, so I can't ever remember the name of that game that Joe made me play. But
Oh,
man, there is a demo of a game. We'll have to link it at some point.
I,
Um,
I'll pull up the name. I have it on my Steam wish list, so I
yeah,
wouldn't forget.
Joe made me play this demo of this game, and
I broke Brad. Brad was like, I like horror, and I was like, oh yeah, here.
this game it did quite well with scaring me. But I also am I get scared easily, but I like it. It's a good thing.
So the game is called Lurk in the Dark, and it was the prologue. The game never actually became a thing, or it's still in the hopes of becoming a thing.
Yeah, it would be pretty sad if it didn't because they did very, very well with it.
Yeah, that game was wonderful.
It felt very polished too. So is there any combat in this game at all?
To the point I haven't had any like direct combat currently. Um, I'm not saying that there's not because like there's a good portion of it where you're walking around with like a sledgehammer and like crowbar. So I don't know if it's just that maybe the chapter I'm in doesn't have combat currently, but it, the game really isn't focused. It's more of a puzzle type game, almost a walking simulator, I guess you can consider from what I've experienced so far. And it's definitely an atmospheric oriented horror game. It's not like you're running into Dolores around every corner and she's just like harassing you and something like that. It's very like tone setting and like you experience her in small quantities, but like when you do, you get the blood pumping.
Yeah, this is just my personal opinion. I've always kind of doesn't mean that they're bad games or anything because clearly, like I said, that one demo that lurk in the
Dark,
darkness, dark,
dark. Yeah.
whatever, didn't have any combat, super scary. Basically, it was kind of like puzzle orientated about it. But thing is, I feel like if there isn't combat to um or at least you don't have a way to defend yourself, it feels like the game's always kind of lacking somewhat. Because Outlast kind of was that way for me. Like I really enjoyed Outlast, but I feel like if it just had a little bit of combat, it would have maybe pushed the game up a little bit. I'm not saying I know how they would have done it or whatever, but just saying it would have been nice to have a little bit of combat in Outlast. But yeah, no, the game does look amazing. And I didn't realize it was that cheap. It's only you said $25, right?
I believe 25, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy too for what you're getting.
It may
So
be 30, but it's not more than 30.
yeah. Anybody else got anything to say about Visage?
If you like horror, it's definitely one to put on the list, especially if you're somebody who's played PT and enjoyed it and wanted to see what it could have become. It's definitely a good spiritual
For
successor.
the non-horror experts that like people like us, what would PT actually stand for? So a person could go look it up if they weren't familiar.
Wasn't it? I think it just stood for playable test, didn't it?
Playable trailer.
Playable trailer. Yeah, I mean, I linked you a video to watch in case you had
Well,
knew
no,
somebody
we
who's
we've
never seen it.
we've referenced PT, but we didn't actually say what it was.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was essentially going to be the next Silent Hill game, but it got scrapped.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima was making it the guy who made Metal Gear Solid, and essentially he just made the trailer. He was teaming up with Guillermo del Toro, whatever that guy's name is, and um, whatever Daryl from The Walking Dead's name is that I can't think of
Norman
right now.
Reedus.
Yeah, and then lo and behold, all of them went over to Death Stranding. So, who
Completely
knows?
different games.
Yeah, it's wild.
If you haven't checked out PT yet, Bravo,
You
give
ever
that a
wanted to be
watch.
a UPS delivery man? Death Stranding. That's what I've heard. Anyways, so I guess we'll move on to my game, the final one here. I chose a game that I actually played a little while ago, just because, like, no surprise, I've been super busy. But this one I played recently, and I remembered a good chunk of it. I went back and actually I streamed the entire thing, watched it all over again, and just wrote down because I listened to what I said, so I know what my opinions were, and I remember. Game called Back in 1995, and it had the whole PS1 era Silent Hill, Resident Evil vibes. So it was made by one guy, and he basically made it because he wanted to make something that reminded him of the PS1 era. Duh. And this honestly was the first game, like indie game, to actually have the aesthetics of a PS1 game. So I thought that was kind of neat. Just a little research that I did. Because it came out in 2016. So I kind of broke this up. I jotted down some notes and whatnot. I wrote down like positive and negatives to the game, and I'll just give you kind of my rundown of everything. So I originally was drawn to it just because looking through, I was like, oh, it's got a nice graphic style. You watch a little bit of the combat, doesn't look too bad or anything. Looks decent. So I'm like, perfect. And on top of that, game normally is $10, and I've seen it go as low as like $1.99, I believe, on sale. So pretty cheap game. Then I pop it in and I start streaming it. And let's go over some of the positives. Obviously, graphic style brought me in, right? So that's going to be a positive.
So it looked like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, confirmed. Look like poopy. Mm-hmm.
It was like a little poopy, little poopski. And I guess I didn't know where to put this, but I guess technically that's all that's positive to the game.
You put it in the toilet. That's where it goes.
Yeah.
The poopski goes in the toilet.
So here's the neutral is
neutral. Neutral. Its name is this. It has a blank like.
So the positive is it looks like crap.
Yeah, positive. It looks like a PS1 game.
I freaking love Brad's reviews.
Oh, boy. So yeah, you can see where this is going. Neutral stuff. Because I didn't know where to put this. I was just wanted to talk about the items. So the only items in the game, at least that I ran into, were a wrench. That was your melee weapon you start off with. A pistol that was mediocre. A shotgun, and painkillers. That was basically your healing potion. That was it. Really minimalistic. But these games, like Silent Hill, I think only had one extra weapon, if I'm not mistaken. Well, no, actually, I lied. It had a lot more melee weapons.
I just thought of a really cool mechanic. You tell me if this has happened before in a horror game, where you're healing are painkillers, but the more painkillers you use throughout the game, the more psychotic you become, the more crazy stuff you see. So like if you were to play through the game perfectly, you wouldn't see like as many light flickers or twisting rooms or, big, like for example, if you go through the game and there's an evil guy at the end of a hallway and you haven't taken any painkillers, you clearly see him hunched over a body eating it. But if you were to have taken a whole bunch of painkillers by that point, the room would be darker. Maybe you can't see him. Maybe like you see.
He's like a giant werewolf.
Yeah. Like it just gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah, it's called Bloodborne.
Ooh, classic.
Yeah, no, I mean that's not a terrible idea, but I could. Kind of reminds me of some of the sanity stuff with amnesia and whatnot.
Bloodborne as well. They have that type of mechanic.
Yeah.
Like the giant alien creatures that are like on the side of buildings that you don't see unless you have so much insight or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't even think about that.
So
that's
the first game that came to my mind.
Yeah, that's basically the mechanic I'm talking about, but just slightly different use.
Yeah.
But yeah. Write that down.
I'm writing that down. I'm gonna send it to this guy.
I can physically see your hands, Brad.
Hands over here. So I guess I'll give one more positive thing. It's not a terrible effort for somebody who's a one-man team. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to do any better by myself. You got to give him some props for making the game by himself and take a shot at it, right? But let's jump into the negatives now.
If you're the creator of this game, please skip ahead.
Yeah, the creator of the game.
You don't need to hear this, son.
You did a good job, champ. I'm proud of you.
Proud of you, boy.
You did better than we could.
So the game length is about 2 hours at absolute max. Like, and I'm talking if you take your time, probably. Like,
Brad
even
counted
if
the
you,
pieces of garlic on the ground.
yeah, you're counting the cloves of garlic in the corner and whatnot, right? 2 hours about. So, I believe I clocked in at an hour 40, and I was talking to the chat and doing my own thing, right? Um, and like Joe always says, I'm not very good at puzzles, and this game does not hold your hand at all. Doesn't really tell you where to go. Doesn't really have any way to point you in a direction of what to do. So you're kind of just like frantically walking around, clicking on stuff, just trying to find anything that is interactable. And it kind of goes along with the story. So I honestly have no idea what it was really about. Basically, it was like, there's a tower over here. I'm going to check it out. And then you run into some random characters in the game that talk to you. And like I said, it was a while ago. And then they allude to you being kind of like sick. And at the end of the game, you just kill yourself. Like you jump off the building. So
Jesus.
What?
it's really weird.
The guy was like, "Oh man, I really need to finish this project. I got other stuff I want to do."
Yeah, pretty much. It felt like that. Because I can't really remember too much of it, and it was really vague. It's clearly not a good sign for it, right? I feel like he probably would have been better off doing something weird where it's like, hey, I'm stuck in this tower and I'm just trying to escape, and could have pretty much made the same game, like trying to find a key, trying to find ways out of the building, because that's essentially what you're doing in this. Is you're just trying to find your way around to wherever. And you just could have made it going from like the top to a building to the bottom, right? Anyways, so let's move on to the monsters that look like hot garbage. So the first enemy you run into looks like one of two things. Basically like spam with arms or a giant turd with arms. Like it's really bad. It's just like a brown blob with arms. That's all it is. And another real nice enemy is just a worm in the ground that kind of wiggles a little bit. Another one is like a brain with long brown legs. It's just like a little pink blob with these really long brown legs. And then there's only one boss in the entire game, and it looks just like a whole bunch of random shapes smashed together. But they tried to make it look like muscles and organs by making it like red and putting pinks and, you know, those tones in it. And it looks like hot garbage. And on top of that, the this will go into the next like combat a little bit too and movements. But they have a weird like hit stun in the game, and it goes for both the player and the enemy. So it turns into this weird game of like who hits who first. Right? So the boss, you can literally kill the boss in like it doesn't even hit you. He starts walks slowly. And if you just fire the shotgun numerous times, he gets stunned enough to where you just kill him. He doesn't do anything. It's really weird. And like I said, combat wise, you can get hit and kind of almost stun yourself. So, yeah.
Just in case any listeners care, you can look up back in 1995 and Google image search, and you can see most of the enemies he's talking about, and it is a glorious look into the eyes of the creator.
How spot on am I?
Really, really spot on. Like the listeners don't even have to look up the images because they already know what they look like from your description. It's glorious.
I thought it did pretty well.
Yeah.
And there might be like another like an enemy or two, but they're just different plays on other enemies that we've I've discussed, like just little variants. But I guess the last thing I will discuss is like the combat movement, like I said. So this is honestly like everything I've talked about beforehand is something that I think could be overlooked if the combat and movement felt way better. So the problem is everything feels like you're moving underwater. So I actually counted like I looked back on the Twitch stream and I counted how long one full swing is with the wrench. And it's 5 seconds from when you initiate the swing and you're able to control your character again.
Oh my gosh.
5 seconds. Like
You
it's
swing, make a sandwich, swing, eat the
Yeah.
sandwich, swing.
so
That's a long time.
and like turning and as you can imagine in a game. So you got to remember tank controls back in the day, Resident Evil 1, Silent Hill 1, whatnot. So if you don't know, I don't know how familiar you are with the Bravo.
I'm very familiar. Tank
After
controls?
I forced him to do it in
Mm.
Resident Evil.
It's actually
okay.
it's actually superior, to be honest.
It's much better for the camera angles
Fixed
that they
cameras.
force you to do.
Yes.
So in the game they do the tank controls, and the problem is when you press left you start turning, but the thing is you don't turn at like a pretty fast pace like you would in Silent Hill. It's like a third speed. I mean, it's painful how long it takes for you to turn. And I'm not even kidding. If you watch the stream that I did, within 2 minutes I go, this is painful. Like this turn is insanely bad.
So basically, the game could be completed in like 10 minutes if you just sped up some animations.
It really could be. And the sad thing is, I honestly think, after all of the negative I've said, if the game was sped up, where they just fixed the animation issues, the game would probably be a solid little indie horror game. Just touch a few things up, like because I feel like atmosphere and environment wise, like for a one-man team, like he didn't do a bad job. It's just it falls flat on his face because gameplay is obviously a really big thing that draws you in, and it's the weakest part of it by far. So I don't know. I would not recommend picking it up though. I forced myself so hard to get through it, like real hard, and it was painful. I don't recommend it to anybody.
We have to talk about limits, Brad. We need to set up some limits for you. And if something gets too bad, too scary, too poorly made, you just gotta cut it off. You're so committed to the bit.
So
I wouldn't
I
have
don't know
touched
if you-
this game with a 10-foot stick.
All right, I literally, as I said, I based off of the pictures on PlayStation Store. It was on sale for like probably like $2-3, right? Why not? Let's do it. The problem is you get on Twitch and you got people like Joe over here, and they're harassing you, calling you big dumb, saying you can't finish anything, and I'm proving them wrong. Okay, I made it through.
Brad took
Dude.
so what was the one Silent Hill game that you were like down in the mines and you're like with the water? It was in like the
It
troughs.
was Silent Hill.
Was it The Room?
Downpour?
Dude,
It was a PS3 game.
I just realized.
I don't know. But Brad was stuck here for so long, and I was like, "Why don't you just go hit that lever?" And he's like, "What lever?"
It was no. You're making it sound way worse than what it is. The game was so dark that I couldn't see anything. I don't know if it was coming up brighter on the OBS or whatever, but it was almost impossible to see anything. Joe was like, "Go hit that lever." I'm like, there is no lever. It's like, it's over there. Whatever. I walked over, hit X at a completely blind spot, and it worked. And as soon as I got out of the area,
2 hours.
it was brutal.
I
And
can't really laugh at that because I know playing through probably Resident Evil, I'm gonna get to a point where I just don't know what to do, and you guys are gonna be like, "Do this thing. It's obvious." I'm like, "Oh, I guess that makes sense."
I don't care. Like if it takes a while and stuff, the problem for me isn't like when it's puzzle orientated. Like it's frustrating, yeah, but it's when it's like the game they just made it too dark and you can't really like it's not even feasible. It's kind of like
Yeah.
when you play Deathloop. Like
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I get
if
it.
there is a lever in Deathloop and it's like gotta go hit that lever that's in the dark room that you can't do anything in. It's like
Did they finally patch that, by the way?
I haven't touched it since. I have too much else
Mm.
to play at the moment, and my
Hmm.
attention is elsewhere.
No, let's be honest. It's not that you have too much to play. It's because you and Bravo are so addicted to League.
Bravo about quit on me last night, so
Good. You can come to me to the dark side and Diablo.
Yeah, I do want to get my werewolf through hell, which is a statement.
But we no, being serious. I do feel like right now there's so many games to play and such little time
and we just keep
for all of
getting
us.
more, and we just
Mhm.
keep adding on and adding
And we
on.
just keep playing the same two games. League and
Mhm.
Diablo. I can't stop myself.
it's the comfort picks, you know.
And then we're
Mhm.
about to have Ocarina on Switch, and then it's just all downhill from there.
I literally just go back and forth. It's like Hearthstone just pulls me back in every time. It's like, oh look at there's a little Mercenaries mode.
Oh, piece of candy.
Yep. And then I'm like, I'm sick of this, and I go off and I'm for like a month I'm playing something else. I'm like, yeah, this is awesome, playing other games and everything. Constant.
Enjoying
And
life.
they're like, hey, by the way, is this expansion coming out? And I'm like, oh
Oh,
my
piece of
god.
candy.
Yep. And here I am back at it again.
I can't wait to No Life Zelda again for the 800th time, and watch Brad get
Yeah.
through it for his first time.
It will be nice to. I'm gonna give it one playthrough at least.
I'll speed run it.
Yeah, it's gonna. Be,
I'm gonna get
it's
through
gonna be
it
good.
as fast as possible. Prepare yourself, Joe.
I have
Okay,
a
no
be
guides
done.
for the water temple.
I have a gray area in my mind. Even though I've beaten the game, I have a gray area when it comes to the water temple. I don't remember how I get there, or what happens like directly after the water temple. So,
Well, you're
I'm
gonna
sure.
be in for a ride.
Yeah, I'm sure once I get the controller in my hand, which is wireless, by the way, and like enjoy
I
the
forgot about
game,
that.
I'll be like,
oh, I forgot
yeah.
to. Are they available to order?
I don't know. You better find out. You better
Oh
order
my
3.
Gosh. Seriously. So here's my memory of The Legend of Zelda, and then we're getting really off topic for horror stuff. But for Legend of
Hold
Zelda,
on, back up. Ocarina of Time, those like faceless dudes that are in town that scream. I don't remember the exact name for them at the moment, but those things gave me nightmares for so long as a kid.
Nah, bro. The first time you're out in the wilderness when the sun goes down, oh boy. Oh boy.
The old
I-
skellies.
that's where I pooped myself for the first time as a child.
Like
Or-
a revolving day night cycle. It got dark. What am I supposed to do now? And then it's like, boom, there's enemies. It's like, oh,
Oh, snap. Yeah.
Um,
You know what? Resident Evil has never made me cry. Dead Space has never made me cry. Back in 1995, I want to cry, but I haven't. Ocarina of Time, you bet your bottom dollar I have cried. Okay?
I will buy back in 1995 for you, Bravo, just to see you cry a little bit.
That's interesting. I'll cry whenever I get the notification that it's been received, because somebody lost $3 or $10, but I will not be playing that game.
You have to play it.
I will
we just
play
keep
it.
piling games on, and Bravo, we're like, Bravo, you got to play this for Halloween month. And he's just like, guys, he's like 4
All right,
rat
guys.
rows of games.
All right, guys. How about this? For every game you give me to play, we watch in series the Halloween Town movies,
Okay.
which are garbage.
Well, you're wrong. And stupid.
I keep memeing about it, but like I don't know how many of those movies they have so far, but I remember going to my mom's and my niece and nephew were watching a thing called Halloween Town, but I did not recognize any of it. And apparently they have continued to make movies for it, and I was very confused.
I thought there was like 2.
I don't know, but I did not recognize it. I'm not even going to look it up either. I don't care. But anyways, do you have anything further to say about back in 1995?
No, not that I can think of, but
Outside of don't play it.
I would say don't play it.
Ending the main bit of the podcast of I don't recommend this.
So here's the thing. I would not recommend it, but
You got to have the right mindset. Like, are you gonna? Yeah, go ahead.
if it goes on sale enough, I would love to buy it for both of you to see both of you play it and to feel exactly what I'm saying. So then you can come back to the podcast and be like, "Dear Lord, it's worse than he even said."
Can't you share stuff from your library?
I have it on PS4 though.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah, I was playing something else on stream, and I went on the store, saw it was on sale for as cheap as it was. I'm like, I'll give it a shot. Boom.
Right down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's all.
Well, before we end it, let's get a quick 1 to 10 rating for each of our games here. Brad, give us a start.
I would give it about a 3. Solid
Our best
3.
rating so far.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe
Bradley?
even a 2.5.
Dead Space, even with the fact that it's a 2008 game, I'm gonna give it an 8. The story's great, the UI is great, the ambiance is great. They could have done a little bit better, but it's really an amazing story, amazing game. I really want to finish it and make it to the next one. And I'm not even going to look stuff up. I don't know what Joe means by the third one being hot garbage, but I'm just going to play it. And we're going to see what everybody's talking about.
Fair. Well, for Visage, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5. I think it's a horror game that's basically a must play for fans
bro.
of the genre.
It's not a competition, but if it was, I'd give Dead Space an 8.6. How about that? Yeah.
I
Out of
would
10,
give
baby.
I would give Dead Space probably a 9. So
Yeah.
Back in 1995, 13 out of 10. Just want to let you guys
so
know.
bad it went over the cap.
Went right on over. So amazing.
It's so bad it came back around. Got that perfect score.
Surpassed everything.
Anyways, folks, thanks for enjoying this episode with us. You can yell at us at Twitter and vision_org. We're pretty frequent tweeters at this point. I'm having fun poking the bear, different stuff. You can email us with business inquiries or, personal stuff, information, social security numbers, whatever, at envisiongamingpodcast@gmail.com. You can comment on the YouTube. I really like seeing the new comments under the YouTube videos. It's really cool to see actual human beings comment stuff. YouTube's algorithm is actually really good at catching bots. So we see the bots, but nobody else does. It's pretty funny. And yeah, you can join the Discord. We got the link tree below every description of videos. You can go to Spotify. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. You can embed it in your own website, like your business website. You can just put our podcast on your business website. That's pretty cool. But anyways, have a good one. Catch you next time.
I love you.
Call your mother.